When it comes to the course and tournament information for the US Open, most of you already know this is a rotunda. Well, not so much a rotunda, but there's always a new golf course every single year that the US Open is played at. This year it is Pinehurst #2. This is one of those well-known golf courses that the PGA Tour has played before. In 2014, to be exact, was the last time the PGA Tour or the US Open was hosted at Pinehurst #2. I don't think it really matters to use data from 2014. You can if you want. And by the way, as I go through these tournament fact sheets, the reason that I go through these are just to give you the data points you should use for researching. Obviously, we're at the US Open, Pinehurst #2, like I said. And again, you can find this at the gcsaa.org. I shouldn't say again, I didn't even mention that before, but that's where you can find the tournament fact sheets. You have a par 70, 35 on the front, 35 on the back, 7,500 yards. None of this information is that important. I like to use the turf grass. And if you didn't know, I suppose I should have had the cheat sheet up. Let me go ahead and click here. If you didn't know, I include the grass type. It is Bermuda this week. So let me zoom in just a little bit so you guys can see this. If you look under the course fit information, it is Bermuda grass that I am using. And if you need to know, I go back to 2013 and I'm looking at their average finishing position. So obviously Scottie Scheffler didn't play in 2013, but he has 36 Bermuda events under his belt. And of those 36, he's averaging 22nd place. Of course, these stats are averaged. So when he first came out on tour, you know, he was missing cuts and stuff like that. Not a lot, but obviously those are baked into these numbers as well. But that also goes with all of the golfers. So you can find out who's the best on Bermuda. And this is just their overall average finishing position. You can also see what kind of clip they're hitting when finishing inside the top 10 on Bermuda tracks. So again, this is looking at all the Bermuda golf courses that they've ever golfed and seeing how frequently they finish inside the top 10. That's what this stat here represents. And then last year, Bermuda is just looking at, from this date back 365 days, all the events that have had Bermuda golf courses, what is their average finishing position? So you're going to see someone who's a bit more hot, like a Scottie Scheffler finishing 7th on, or his average finishing position 7th. But then look at Rory. Rory's average finishing position is 8th. He plays pretty well on Bermuda tracks, so keep that in mind. But yeah, you can find all the information. I do have a strength of field rating here as well. What goes into strength of field is what the old OWGR system was. So you're looking at their FedEx Cup rankings from last year. You're looking at their current OWGR, and then there's a formula that's built in that creates the strength of field rating. I like this better because it really, you can see the big differences between a really good golf tournament where there is a very strong strength of field like this one, and a weak tournament where the strength of field is like 160 or even worse yet, 60. You know, if you're looking at the class Punta Cana, you're going to see a 60 for the strength of field rating. So you can really see the big differences between what's a tougher tournament versus what is a quote unquote easier tournament. All that information is available to you as well. I suppose let's continue talking about the tournament fact sheets. So Bermuda grass. I just wanted to mention to you that there was Bermuda on that cheat sheet for the grass stat. This is one of the most important things. Greens are Bermuda. In 2014, they were bent grass, just so you know. They changed it to Bermuda. And then everything else. So you can just see it's Bermuda. And of course, if you haven't been watching other videos, Pinehurst is a little unique. Basically, you have fairway, and then you have native grass and sand. So it's their bunkers, native grass, and fairway. That's about it. And the native grass are just like weird, bushy type of, can't remember what they're called, wispy grass, I guess. It makes for an interesting turnout or tournament. I think the fairways are going to be playing firm and fast to try to promote more golf balls. you know, kind of trickling on into these native areas where a golf ball could be behind a knoll of grass, like really tall, wispy grass, where, you know, a golfer just isn't going to have a clean shot to the green. So it can be penalizing, very, very penalizing. What does that mean for you for research? Nothing. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, you could look at fairway percentage, like how often a golfer hits the fairway, or driving accuracy, I suppose. You could use all that stuff, but then you're going to get too cute and you're going to be on, you know, all 6 golfers of just the best driving stats possible. And you're probably not going to be able to create a good lineup with those golfers in it. So when we get into the strategy portion of it, where we're talking about anchor buckets, combo buckets, all that kind of stuff, I think we're going to get on better golfers that way versus just saying, hey, check out all these stats. Did you know that driving accuracy is going to be very important this week because, well, you know, you might be at the fates of the golf gods if you decide to be a little bit risky, hit a driver off of a tee where you probably should hit an iron for accuracy purposes. You might run off into these native grasses and penalize yourself. How are you going to know that? Honestly, how are you going to know that? You're not. So I say all this information for you to hear it and take into account whatever you would like, but I'm also going to say, look at it with trepidation. Like it's not that big of a deal, honestly. I think you still want to look at the best golfers you can possibly put into a lineup. I don't think you want to get really cute when building your lineups. Just build a good quality lineup and you should be fine. You know, Scotty Scheffler is going to win this tournament anyway, so what difference does it make? Who else you put in with Scotty Scheffler? That's a joke. It's a joke, but I do think Scheffler, if I put a percentage, I'm going to give him a 70% chance to win. I think it's going to be over 70, and then the rest of the field has a 25-30% chance to win. Something like that. But anyways, for the course and tournament information, you can find some more additional notes on the tournament fact sheets, whatever you would like. I don't find much more interesting. Donald Ross is the architect of this golf course, and then Bill Corr and Ben Crenshaw came in and renovated it in 2009, 2011. You can use that for researching purposes as well. When it comes to the tournament, I already went over the strength of field rating. Just a reminder, the US Open's top 60 in ties for your cut. And I guess if we really wanted to, we can look at 2014. I think okay. I did a kind of a course breakdown for Pinehurst. You can kind of see that on the screen right here. I mapped it out. I looked at it and I was trying to think of what is the preferred shot shape when it comes to this golf course. And all the shot shapes that I have put here, in this column, it's off the tee. In this column, it's approach. And whatever shot shape I put, to me, is a benefit for scoring. Hitting that type of shot shape will be a benefit when it comes to scoring. It doesn't mean it's absolutely necessary. So I want to be very clear with that. Doesn't mean it's absolutely necessary. It's just a preferred shot shape for scoring purposes. Or a lot of these greens on this golf course are, they call them turtleback, but where I'm from, we call them crowned greens. So like they're kind of on this mound, basically. And hitting approach shots, some of these shot shapes are required because the green sits at a funny angle. And if you hit a shot shape, it actually widens the green out because you'll have more distance you can work with when landing that golf ball into the green with the correct shot shape. Whereas if you're going to cross, you know, dissect it, or how do you say it? Cross-sect it? I don't know. But say if the green was laying like this and the ball was coming in like that. If the ball was coming in perpendicular to it, the landing area is very small. Whereas if the green's like this and the ball, how do I do this? Like this, and the ball's coming in here, or I guess like this, you're going to have a wider landing area. There's just going to be more green for that ball to work and to stay on the green. I know that was probably a very bad visual, but I hope you understand what I mean. If not, I can explain more about it during my live video tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So as I see it, there are more fades that are beneficial for this golf course than there are draws. And I guess one way to confirm that is to see which golfers finished inside the top 10 in 2014, because there haven't been any major renovations that have happened at Pinehurst since 2014. At least not when it comes to like routing of the golf course or changing dog legs from left to right. I'm going to go over these. Martin Keimer was known for hitting a fade. He won that tournament by 8 shots. I couldn't tell you what Eric Compton did back then. I really don't remember. He's not a super notable golfer when it comes to, you know, I guess his skill level. Like, he had a really good story going into 2014, but outside of that, you know, when it comes to his skill level, no offense, but no one's paying attention to it. Ricky Fowler hits a draw. Keegan Bradley hits a draw. Jason Day hits a draw. Dustin Johnson hits a fade. Brooks Koepka hits a fade. Stenson hits a fade. Scott can shape it both directions. Snedeker and Walker hit draws. So too does Jim Furyk. Matt Kuchar hits a fade. I think he hits a draw. Justin Rose hits a fade. JB Holmes hits a fade. I don't know what Marcel Siem does. Poulter hits a fade. So it's a mix between draws and fades. So you can do whatever you want, I think. I still give a nod to those that fade the golf ball, or if fading is a little bit more natural. There are some landing areas off the tee that are sloped, kind of like TPC Harding Park. If you remember that golf course, you had fairways that were tilted, and hitting a shot shape against that tilt keeps the ball in the fairway. Whereas if you were to hit, like, if the tilt's like this and the ball's like coming in like a draw, it's going to camber into the rough. So keep things like that in mind. Personally, I don't think it's absolutely necessary to choose golfers based off of shot shapes. Honestly, I don't think it matters all that much. I'm just giving you some information. You do with it as you will. If I was to tell you to put weights into what matters, I'd put 1 point out of 100 into shot shape. That's it. That would be it. And I say this every single week. And if you want to know what some of the shot shapes these golfers hit, I do have that on the cheat sheet. If you go to the cheat sheet and you go to the shot shapes, you're going to see for most of these golfers, I do have shot shapes in there, and it's their preferred shot shape. It is what I have noticed, what if they have a straight ball, if they have a straight shot to the green, what is their preferred shot shape? It's either I've seen it with my eyeballs or I've heard them talk about it. So you do with that as you will. Like I said, it's really only just like a point of a weighting measure that you should put into it out of 100, like 1/100th of importance, basically. So it's still available for you. That's all I'm trying to get at, is it's available to you. And if you believe in that kind of stuff, it's at your fingertips. Outside of that, I think that covers everything that I need to talk about with, US Open. You have qualifiers, right? You're going to have this 5K range down here. I just avoid it. Yeah, I don't think you need to get super cute with grabbing any of these golfers down here. Now, Chad Campbell, I think it was Chad Campbell. No, not Chad Campbell. Michael Campbell, I believe his name is. He was a US Open qualifier. Was not on any of the tours. It was kind of a Cinderella story. He won the US Open, I think, at Pinehurst back in 2007. It was one of the earlier Pinehursts, I believe. He's one of the first and only, not one of the first. There were golfers earlier than him, but one of the only golfers to have been a qualifier to have won the US Open. Now, we're obviously in this DFS world, we're putting lineups together of 6 golfers. So it doesn't really matter if we think a golfer is going to win or not, but I also look at top 10 finishes. That's the whole Sweet Spot brand. I'm looking at optimal lineups, optimal plays. you don't see many of these golfers. Like, you're going to have a less than 1% success rate hitting one of these golfers down here to finish inside the top 10 or to be in the optimal lineup. And again, that's the whole purpose here is at SweetSpotDFS. It's about hitting the optimal lineup. So I would just ignore these golfers. In fact, check in tomorrow during the live stream, the strategy video that I'm going to have. I'm going to talk about these 6K golfers. Or not so much 6K, they're 5K, but I've kind of spoiled what I do something different with pricing, and I will let you know in this next segment of Pass Optimal and GPP winning lineups. But I think you just avoid a lot of these golfers down here. If you don't know who they are from name value, don't play them. It's probably a good rule when it comes to the US Open. Okay. Thank you all for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.